There are many clips of a lovely couple, or several couples, making videos, talking about things, and it nearly always ends up with one of them being shocked, horrified, or otherwise disappointed with their partner. I've seen several of them, and I constantly wonder, and occasionally even comment, watch out for the frying pan. Because you can easily imagine the wife, in many cases, clonking her husband over the head with the nearest available utensil. This is a slapstick thing and very much a comedic thing, but it did get me thinking. It's a weird tangent, but I have to go back to something I commented on a while ago, and that was during the last election in the UK, where Labour put out their manifesto saying they were going to ban swords of any description to stop knife crime. Now, as many people, including Matt Easton, pointed out, that's not going to make a difference and is actually going to affect many things that are completely unrelated to knife crime, including the reenactment industry, the dramatic industry, the sport of fencing, the sale of antiques, and also the blacksmithing industry, the recreation, the historical industries. Basically, if you own a sword, you're now a criminal. I compared it to transgender people, but that is not the case here, because even if the government decides to crack down on any form of blade, including pocket knives or even the knives we use in preparing our food, and remove those from the situation, which might actually do more than banning swords, because let's face it, the majority of the knives used in knife crimes are kitchen utensils, such as, well, carving knives, bread knives, cleavers. They don't actually solve the problem. They'll cause more an impact than banning swords, but still. Because the major issue is a social one. Why do I bring this up in relation to pots and pans? Well, as is proven throughout history, if you can't stab someone or cut them up, you bonk them on the head with something. Be it a big stick, be it a bat, be it a club, or maybe a frying pan or saucepan. When I think back over various stories I've read, two incidents come to mind, just off my head. And that's just in the Harry Potter books. One is where Aunt Petunia tried to whack Harry over the head with a frying pan for threatening to use magic on Dudley. It didn't actually happen, but still, she didn't hold back and tried to hit him. And the third was when Creature the house elf tried to hit someone with a frying pan. I believe it was just because he was insulting the Black family heirlooms. That should tell you how dangerous kitchen utensils are and how well known they are to be dangerous. Whilst not as lethal as a kitchen knife, they're the next best thing. And realistically, people will use anything if they want to cause harm. Cars have been used as weapons, they were never designed as such. Sticks have been used as weapons since man could hold one. Rocks have been used since the earliest times. I still remember in English class we were reading about, what was it? Reading Lamb from the Slaughter, that was it, yes. Lamb from the Slaughter. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a spoiler, but hey, they read the book. They read the book. They read that particular section of the book over and over again. Those of you that don't know it, I do apologise for spoilers, but basically someone whacks their husband over the head with a leg of frozen lamb. And then they put it in the oven to cook it. And by the time the police come round to investigate, the lamb is cooked. The wife is now no longer interested in eating and lets the police officers eat the lamb. So we're asking, well, how are we going to solve this? Because we don't know where the murder weapon is. Oh, thanks for this lamb, dear. It's lovely. You can see where this is going. Unless the problem is sorted, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to roll into another situation. This is incredibly comparable to religion. This is something that me and the atheists of the atheist community of Austin actually agree on. Education is important. It is actually fundamental to an improved society. You see that throughout the years. Education improves everyone. Whereas Valkai even does a spam of it, saying that, well, doing a lovely little clip where people don't understand evolution, and then the fundamentalists come along with the Bible. Whilst it wouldn't at all surprise me if they actually do that, I would genuinely expect them to be a bit more circumspect about that. Now you may say, why am I saying that? Well, the simple fact is, the fundamentalists are not improving things. I can't deny that. But atheists are calling out for religion to be removed from society. Really? They say it should be removed from schools, it should be kept in homes, it should be kept in church communities, not spread out across the globe. It should ultimately be relegated to the past. However, the past is a dangerous place, as we know. And if we don't understand things from the past, we never learn from them. There's a reason why Holocaust deniers, and even 9/11 deniers, or Columbine deniers even, need to be silenced. Because they ignore what those things meant in history, then we could very well end up in the same situation we were in at the beginning. You could say, why don't I spam on the fact that Americans have guns? In fact, they have more guns than people. That's a true fact. They have an arsenal bigger than the population. Well, the unfortunate fact is, whilst removing guns from the situation will reduce crime, it won't end it. Because if someone wants to get a gun, they will get a gun by all manner of means, both legal or illegal. But why do I constantly spam on education and question the atheists for bringing up why religion should not be in schools? Well, the main problem is, I think they're trying to remove religion entirely from the curriculum, when realistically it should be expanded upon. Religion shouldn't be the only subject that people study, and going over the science curriculum to focus on religion is rather ridiculous. Not to mention people saying that the Bible should be involved in every single class or should be used in teaching. I do sort of wonder whether the legislation was even trying to suggest that, or whether it's simply to say, if you're going to be studying the Bible, use the Bible as a reference point. Not just say, oh, that's what the Bible says, and then ignore it. Actually take out the Bible. I've said this in several shorts, particularly to do with the late Christopher Hitchens. But examining all areas of religion, or at the very least giving a broad swath of education about religion, should give you a better idea of how to respond to those cultures. Otherwise, if you shut down all forms of religious education, you're basically just saying, there's a culture out there, we don't want anything to do with it, we're not going to teach you about it. Same thing was done during the height of Islamophobia, to the point where understanding anything about Muslims is near impossible. I've been able to understand not only that Muslims go to a mosque, how they pray, and why women of Islam wear the hijab, or any form of head covering. All that was down to actually being educated in school and further studies later on. You don't have to know the ins and outs, the details, everything, but you just need to know enough so you can navigate them in everyday situations. It's very important, especially if, say, you have a community of that sort in your town, in your city. If you see a certain building and think, oh, what's going on in there? I just remembered something from my mother told me many years ago. She said that when she was younger, she was going to buy pork. And so she went into a butcher's shop that was owned by a Jewish family, and she asked for pork. Now, anyone that understands anything about Judaism knows that Jews will not be doing anything with pigs, let alone selling pork. So, if you happen to know that shop's owned by Jewish people, or that it's a Jewish shop for any reason, any reference, you will understand. If you want pork, that's not the shop to go to. So that is the situation that will occur. If you don't understand a culture, you don't understand why some things that you think are perfectly natural just don't wash with them. Same with why you'd offer a Muslim a snack at lunchtime when they're clearly hungry and they say no, they can't, they're fasting for Ramadan. If you don't understand that, then you'll be at best confused, at worst offended that they refused your cooking, even though it's well within their religion and it's not harming anyone. Understanding religion is important, no matter where you get it from. But it's important to know in general, so you don't end up causing insular problems, which I'll expand on further in the video. If you do not educate people about any form of religion, which seems to be what the atheists are pushing, you're just blinding people to a culture that could become more insular and thus more radicalized. Preaching education is all very well and good, but not if that deliberately involves promoting ignorance. I'm not going to go down the slippery slope fallacy, but it is very much like removing PSHE or citizenship from the curriculum. Essentially removing cultural awareness. That is not going to fix the problem. It's going to make it a bigger problem. And even if you remove religion from the situation, other aspects will crop up, all down to the single problem of education. Conspiracy theories can spring up, and there are plenty of them. Flat Earth, anti-moon landings, anti-dinosaur, and as I said, anti-Holocaust, anti-Columbine, anti-9/11. Before too long, you'll have the same problem, and it's all down to the same thing: education. Keep it broad, keep it simple, keep it inclusive. And don't just spam things because you happen to be the one thinking, oh, I don't think this is relevant. Hey guys, this is something that's out there, it's not true, let's move on. No. If you're actually going to teach them problem solving, they'll go out there and actually do the research. At worst, you just make people believe what you say. And that becomes the authority problem. Appeal to authority is very much a relative thing. Because if I say my priest happens to deny evolution, and because he's my priest, he's the right reverend, that means he knows everything there is to know. That is an appeal to authority, and clearly that is not helping anyone. Likewise, if we constantly say that scientists deny the Bible, that doesn't mean anything, because again, they are scientists, not biblical scholars. If anything, I'd say preach from the, or appeal to the adverse. Appeal to someone who actually denies it, whose main studies or main intentions aren't for your position, and yet they agree on a certain position aligned with yours. Which is why I may as well be constantly spamming on the education problem, which is why I constantly mention that both me and Forrest Valkai agree billionaires are the most dangerous of minorities. We heartily disagree on many things, but the moment we agree on something, we have to stand united on it. Interestingly enough, I can't remember his surname, but Seth, a member of the atheist community of Austin, and yes, I think his handle on YouTube is The Thinking Atheist. He, on one occasion, I did a reel on this, said that the idea of religion coming in and taking over, despite the fact that you think it's a good idea, essentially, proselytation is colonization. I would say this is a similar thing. It is, if you will, rolling ideas. If you roll ideas out of the way in favour of newer ones, sooner or later you'll find something coming your way that you don't like. If progress is being made, or new ideas will roll over, sooner or later our ideas will be destroyed. but we think we are in the right because of it. Simple fact of the matter is, until we find a point at which to stop the endless cylinder of progress and start collating ideas rather than trying to destroy past ones in favour of our current ones, we are really getting nowhere. So to summarise, we need to find the source of the problem. In case of knife crime, it's not the tools, it's the social issue that needs to be addressed. Same to gun crime, not the tools, but the social issues. Same is true of religion. Fundamentalism is the result of a lack of education. Removing religion from the education system is only going to create hot points where radicalization can build up, where ignorance can build up, and eventually something is going to give. And since that's happening in America, where, as I've said, there are more guns than there are people, sooner or later, something's going to go wrong. And unless we actually understand the cultures involved, we're not really going to progress. And if we think that our current ideas are more important than ideas from the past, to the point we should snuff out the old ideas, then really we haven't learned anything. So keep educating yourself, people, on all aspects. Stay humble, stay safe, and God be with you, my friends.